Is it final? Like once you've had LASIK? I mean, I know the technology has changed and I'm sure it will continue to evolve.
Right.
But is this like a every 10-year upkeep or maintenance kind of thing?
No, it's not actually.
Oh.
So that corneal tissue that's removed in the sculpting process cannot grow back. And that's really the whole basis for us even doing the procedure to start with. You know, if it grew back, then we wouldn't be able to do it because it wouldn't have any lasting effect. Our overall enhancement rate, which is how many people need an enhancement after the first procedure, is 4%.
That's it.
So you have a 4% likelihood at some point over the course of your lifetime of needing additional correction.
Welcome to Care Experts, a podcast dedicated to providing the inside scoop on health and self-care.
Make sure you join us each week for candid conversations with wellness and medical specialists.
Yes, real experts here to help you make the best choices for you and your loved ones.
I'm Melissa, a native Texan living in Atlanta.
And I'm Selah, a Californian through and through, and we're your co-hosts.
That's right. We're both proud moms here to have meaningful conversations with experts from all over the country who empower, inform, and inspire.
From cosmetic to dental and vet to vision, this is Care Experts.
Selah, what's up? It's so good to see you.
It's so good to see you.
I know why you're doing that.
I know.
It's because we're talking about our eyes today, and we're talking about LASIK
I mean,
today.
it's a good joke.
I mean, it is very good. You're very punny.
Oh, well, thank you.
And you can joke about it because you have experienced it, so it's not scary to you at all, right? And I think some people are like, LASIK, oh, what are they? They're doing something with my eyeballs.
No.
Well,
It's hands down
There
the
you
best thing I have ever chosen to
Really?
do. Besides have children, yes.
why?
Because I can see. My eyes are perfect. Like, I literally can see
That's
perfectly
so,
still.
And it's been 15 years.
Yeah, exactly. It's been a
I mean,
very long
imagine how
time.
much technology has changed in those last 15 years. Because I was told, as a person who does not have perfect vision, I wear daily disposable contact lenses, that I was not a good candidate for LASIK. But that was at least 15 years ago.
Right.
That
Well,
an optometrist told me that.
I'm sure so much has changed. And that's what
For
we're going
sure.
to find out today.
Yeah, we're going to talk about LASIK with a LASIK expert, right? That's
Exactly.
Dr. Dean Ellis, MD, who is board certified by the American Board of Ophthalmology.
Yes, he received his medical degree in ophthalmology from the University of North Carolina and is a diplomat of the National Board of Medical Examiners and a fellow of the American Academy of Ophthalmology.
And here is the thing that I think really sticks out about Dr. Ellis. He, since 1998, has performed more than 104,000, it's very specific,
Incredible.
LASIK procedures,
Yeah.
which makes him one of the most experienced LASIK surgeons in the Midwest.
I know, and
So he's the person we should be
knowledgeable.
talking to about
exactly.
this. Like, he's the medical expert.
He's
for
literally the
LASIK.
expert
Yeah, he
for
really is.
LASIK.
And the thing about it is, I want to just take away that stigma from LASIK of like, oh my gosh, it's my eyeballs. Oh, I don't know. you know?
Yes, you want to
And-
take away that astigmatism.
Ah,
I got it again.
Very funny today.
Thank you.
I really like
But
that.
truthfully,
Yeah.
you were told you weren't allowed to have LASIK because
Because I have astigmatism, right?
Exactly.
That's what they said, and
So I'm
and I'm
curious.
nearsighted, right? But my eyes keep changing, right? That's the other thing. Like, once you get
Right.
older, right?
Well, that's
so
why
many
my
questions.
husband had to get it twice for that reason.
And you can do that.
Yes.
I mean, I guess so. If he did it,
yeah.
right?
So let's find out why though, because I never knew why he had to get it twice.
Right, and I want to know from Dr. Ellis, like, how invasive is LASIK, and is it like what you see on TV? Is it like, oh my gosh, it's blurry, and now I can see
No,
it?
it
How
is.
quick?
I can
Like,
tell
what
you it
they're
is.
So,
because it
that's-
happened to me. I
well,
literally walked out with perfect
That's
vision.
incredible.
Incredible.
Wow.
So let's find out all about it and share
Let's
with
do
you
that.
guys.
Yeah, let's bring in Dr. Dean Ellis.
Yeah. Hello, Dr. Ellis.
Dr. Dean
Whoa.
Ellis in the heezy.
Yes.
I'm saying it like that because I already feel like we're like cool.
Yeah,
You know?
Yes.
you're cool.
Dr. Ellis, you are a very prolific. You've done over 100,000 LASIK eye surgeries.
Wow.
That's correct.
That's amazing.
You're board certified by the American Board of Ophthalmology, and you went to the University of North Carolina. Go Tar Heels!
Tar Heels.
Oh, I didn't know Tar Heels.
That's right.
Okay. You're located in Kansas City, Missouri.
That's
No,
correct.
Kansas City, Kansas.
Right.
There you go. There you go. There you go. But you're one of the most experienced LASIK practitioners, surgeons in the world.
Right. Yeah. LASIK is my primary focus. That's what I do the most.
Okay.
when you're not performing surgery, LASIK surgery, what do you like to do?
Yeah. Well, I'm an outdoorsy guy. I love to be outdoors and, tennis. I've really gotten into pickleball lately.
Oh, you're one of
You're the pickleball
those.
craze.
Yeah, it's taking the world by storm.
Yes, it is.
It is so much fun. It's great exercise, and it's a very social game.
Yep.
You really get to know the people you're playing, and so I really enjoy doing that.
That's so cool.
Are you good?
Yeah, are you good at it?
I play a lot. Our group is competitive.
Oh, I love it.
It's a
I love
great
it.
workout.
It is a good
You will
workout.
sweat
I've never
from head to toe.
played.
I haven't
wanna
either, but
play.
I've seen people sweat.
No, and everybody talks about it. Everybody talks about it.
Yeah, they think it's all just for oldsters, but it's not.
Oh, no.
Uh-uh.
Yeah. A fun fact, I'm the voice of the USAA pickleball commercial.
Of
That's
course
my
you are.
voice. Yeah.
Wow.
And I know that it is for young people and older people. It's
Yes.
for all ages.
Absolutely. It's so much fun.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And you have one son?
I have one son.
Okay.
Yeah, he's 25. He lives in New York. He is an opera singer. He works at Juilliard.
Opera singer.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so he's going to be performing in Europe this summer. And so
That's
very excited.
amazing.
Now, why did you decide to become an ophthalmologist?
Oh, good question.
Well, when you're in medical school, you get to try a little bit of a lot of different specialties. And ophthalmology really sells itself. I mean, it's a dynamic, high-tech field. It's constantly evolving. It really keeps me intellectually challenged. And so much of what we see in ophthalmology, we can treat readily with a procedure that may only take 5 minutes and can dramatically affect someone's quality of vision and their quality of life.
Yeah.
And that's just fantastic. I'll give you an example.
Please.
With the LASIK procedure, we can take someone who's been wearing glasses since they were in 2nd grade, right? They may not ever remember a time when they could see clearly without glasses. After a 10-minute procedure, they get up off the table and they can see the clock across the room for the first time in their life.
Exactly.
And sometimes they are overwhelmed with joy. They burst into tears. They give me a big hug.
I love this.
Who gets that in their job
That's
on
right.
a regular basis? Right?
So
Changing
true.
lives,
Well,
making
especially
people
as a
see. It is
surgeon,
incredible.
when
Yeah.
people are usually like in pain after surgery and like,
Right.
Yeah.
and it's maybe a bad thing, but
Right.
this is such a good thing,
Yeah,
and it's
quality
so
of life.
life changing. I know personally
Me too.
how. Right? Did you have LASIK?
I
as
had
well?
LASIK myself.
Really?
Yeah, same.
Yeah, yeah.
How long ago did you have yours?
Yeah.
Selah.
Oh, me? Oh, yeah. I'm like, yeah.
You're like, yeah,
Doctor.
Yeah, when you have your Dr. Ellis.
Well, that
You
is
too.
Yeah, both of us. I think mine was now. I want to say 15 years ago, maybe 16.
Right.
Yeah, and it was life changing because
Right.
I started with glasses around 10 or 11. Then I started with contacts. I want to say in junior high, so a long time with contacts, and my eyes just got drier and drier and drier to the point where if I was on stage as an actress or in front of the camera, I'd have to have a moment in a scene playing a character where I would turn and get my eyes wet, which is completely horrible
Right.
in my profession.
Right.
So
Absolutely.
yeah, it was life changing.
Yeah, and you've had great vision ever since, right?
Perfect vision.
Yeah.
No problems whatsoever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm the same way. I hated glasses and contacts. Really, for me as an eye doctor, it got in the way of practicing my profession. There are times when I'm using instruments where glasses really got in the way. I would try to do it without glasses, and that didn't work very well
gosh.
either, right?
It's a mistake.
So I had my LASIK, and yeah, it's been amazing. Drying of the eyes is a very common reason to have LASIK because, that contact lens acts like a sponge on the surface of your eye, kind of stealing that moisture that you're producing, especially for jobs where you're on the computer a lot and that sort of thing.
It's really dry.
So, yeah, we know over time you'll be a lot less symptomatic from dry eyes if you've had the LASIK procedure.
It's life giving. You're
Right.
giving
Yeah.
people back their lives. It's incredible. Their
Yeah.
vision.
Freedom from glasses and contacts. Yeah.
So, and in fact, you have given this gift of sight to so many people in third world countries all over the world. Can you talk about a little your volunteer work?
Right. Well, it's primarily here in the U.S. It's a program
Okay.
called iCare America, and it is intended to be for those who are medically more needy. They can't afford appropriate eye care, and so they're able to come see us free of charge.
What does that do for you?
That's incredible.
Yeah, it's a way to kind of give back, to use my skills to help someone. And we know our vision is one of our most valuable assets,
Absolutely.
right? So anything I can do to help those is really
Well, and also you're taking a cost away from them from glasses, contacts that they don't need anymore. That's amazing.
right. Yeah, over time, it's very cost effective
Yes.
to have LASIK because you don't have that expense any longer.
Exactly. That's amazing that you do that.
So for people who have never heard of LASIK before, what is LASIK?
Right.
Break it down.
Break it down. Right. Well, I think it's good to kind of start a little bit with how the eye works. And that
Please.
might make it a little easier to
Sure.
understand. So the eye, as you can imagine, is like a camera, right? Light comes in through the front. The cornea is that clear window on the front surface of your eye. So that's kind of the glassy part that you see when you're talking to someone in front of the colored part. So it comes through the cornea, it goes through the pupil, through the lens, where it's focused back onto the retina. Now, there is a central part of your retina called the macula, and then there's a central part of that macula called the fovea. Well, in order for you to see clearly, light rays have to be focused exactly on that point. If they deviate from that point, things are fuzzy, right? So with nearsightedness, some people get confused on this, but that
Yeah,
means...
they
I
switch
actually
it.
know it. I actually
Yeah.
know it.
Right.
No, explain it. Explain
Yeah,
it.
it means you see better up close than you do at a distance. And there are varying degrees of nearsightedness. I mean, some people who are very nearsighted, it's like, this is clear and that's fuzzy.
Wow.
That's
Right.
where I've gotten to.
Okay.
We'll
Right.
talk about that later.
Yeah. So with nearsightedness, what's happening inside the eye is those light rays, instead of focusing on the fovea, that important part, they focus in front of it. And so the eye may be a little too long, or the cornea may be a little too steep for that eye. And so the underlying principle of LASIK is actually very simple. All we're doing is just using a very low intensity light to sculpt the cornea, to reshape it so that those light rays go back onto the fovea where you can see your best.
Oh, wow.
Now, farsightedness is just the opposite. So farsightedness, the cornea is too flat, or the eye is a little shorter than it should be. So in that case, we use that same laser to make the cornea steeper and focus those light rays where they should be. Now, astigmatism, it's interesting. A lot of people think, well, I can't have LASIK because I have astigmatism. That's from way back when we first started doing LASIK.
Oh.
What? 'Cause
Okay,
that's
wait
what
a
I've always
minute.
been told, Dr. Ellis,
Right.
because I have astigmatism.
Right.
I've worn contact lenses for as long as I can remember, contact lenses or glasses since I'm like 12, I think, and I'm way over 12 now. But I was told a long time ago, I can't tell you exactly when, that I wasn't a good candidate for LASIK, so
Right.
I just figured I'm going to be in contacts and glasses for the rest of my life, and was like, well,
Right.
all right.
Well, that's right. Well, in the early days of laser vision correction, we couldn't correct astigmatism, but the technology has come a long way since then. And actually now we know LASIK is the single best way to correct astigmatism.
How? Why did it change?
Yeah.
Well,
Great question.
Yeah, I think I'm
question,
curious.
Selah.
You
Let me
know,
tell
we're
you.
like all
Thank
into it.
well, first of all, let's talk about what astigmatism really means, because really it means that the front surface of the eye, instead of being round like a basketball, is more like the side of a football. So it has, so it has one axis that is steeper, and then the opposite axis is flatter. So it's a bit irregular in shape.
Okay.
Well, with that same laser, we can flatten the steep axis and steepen the flat axis so that we create a round spherical shape to the eye so that all of those light rays focus onto one point on the fovea so that you can see properly.
Oh, that makes
You are so good at
sense.
painting a picture.
Yeah,
Like, I
yeah,
am
absolutely.
visualizing this, and I hope for our audience as well. It's really breaking it down to like,
Mhm.
oh, okay, football, basketball.
Right.
I get that. Okay, continue,
So
continue,
Melissa
Dr.
can
Ellis.
get LASIK now, actually.
She can get LASIK, and
He wants to do a full exam though,
Oh, okay, great.
which I
That's
think is,
right.
I mean, that's
that
the
makes
medical
sense.
way. We
Yeah.
should do it
Yeah.
that way.
yeah, and really with contact lenses, it's kind of more of an off the rack type of correction. So we know what your prescription is, but then we have to choose within certain powers of astigmatic correction and try to kind of get it as close as possible to what you really need. But with LASIK, we don't have to do that. It's
my
bespoke. It is specific to your exact prescription.
It's amazing.
That's.
Yeah.
You're blowing my mind right now, and I don't know why it didn't occur to me to ask again. I just accepted
because-
as fact that
exactly.
when someone told me, not just someone, but a doctor
Right.
told me that I wasn't eligible for that or not a good candidate, that was now and forever,
Right,
not
right,
just
right.
for now
But
or
it's
back then.
amazing how
Right.
much changes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
the
no one can
technology.
really tell you a candidate until they've done the whole workup.
Sure.
Right. Then it's just, it's not really a opinion based on anything, no real science.
Right.
So the other interesting thing is that now with the current technology, we take an image of your iris, right? So your iris is like a fingerprint, right? It's unique to you. It can be used for
really?
security purposes, right?
Oh,
Oh,
that's
right,
right.
yeah.
Digital ID at the
Digital-
airport.
yeah.
Digital ID.
Or your Face ID, right? Is that the
Oh
same?
yeah,
It's-
maybe kind of.
Maybe.
Yeah, so we use that image of your iris to we match that when we're doing the correction. the laser and the computer that drives that laser will match those images so that it makes sure that your correction is precisely on the exact degree of your astigmatism, right? That can't be done with either glasses or contacts. And in fact, contacts, they tend to dry out, they rotate a little bit.
Yes.
They may not be exactly the right correction. So it's not uncommon for us to get vision that's better than what you would see with your contacts.
Mine was better. I can't remember what it was now, but it was like whatever 20/20 was, and then mine was 21. I don't know.
Right.
What does the consultation process look like for someone who is interested in LASIK,
Right.
and you determining as the doctor if that's the best course of
How do you
action for them?
assess everything?
Right. Well, it's interesting. Since the pandemic, it has really accelerated the use of telemedicine. So nowadays, we can get started even before you come into our center.
What?
Yeah, we can talk to you about, if you know your prescription, kind of what your visual needs are, tell you a little bit more about what to expect, the cost involved, financing, CareCredit, whatever you might need. Then when you come into the center, it's a very thorough process because we want to make sure you are an excellent candidate, right? Safety is our primary concern with LASIK. And so about 15% of all patients are not candidates for one reason or another. So there's a criteria that we go through. The first one is your age, right? So you have to be at least 18 years of age. There's no upper age limit. Some people think, well, I'm too old for LASIK, but I've actually treated patients in their 80s before.
Really?
And there's no such thing as too young because
There is too young. At least.
But I know you said 18, but
yeah.
Okay, so my husband had to get his redone because they said he got it too young before his eye had finished developing. He was like 24 when he first got it.
Right.
Is that true?
Well, we feel like that by the mid-20s, the changes that are occurring within the eye are stable.
Okay.
But we do look, that is another one of the criteria that we look for, is has the vision been changing significantly over the past year or two? So if you see a trend, right, if you can see that the prescription is increasing 1 year over the next, that's not a good time to get the procedure.
Okay.
Okay.
But the good news is, if that does happen, then just like in the case of your husband, it can be touched up over time. So even though we feel like the eyes may be stable, if they do change a little bit over time, they can be touched up. And that can happen at any time. I will tell you, I've had patients that I've treated 25 years ago that come back and need a little touch-up. And
So it's
we
just
can do that.
A touch-up, because he had to do the whole surgery all over again.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It's a 5-minute procedure.
It's still, right. Okay,
5
tell
minutes?
us about that.
Yeah, okay. Did you finish explaining what it was like, though, the consultation and like the...
Yes.
Because I know we're jumping in.
Scratching the surface.
Oh,
Okay, let's go
ahead, my
back.
bad.
Go back.
So, then there is a range of prescriptions that we can treat that's been approved by the FDA for the specific laser that we're using. And so if you look at your glasses prescription, or if you look at the number on your box of contact lenses, it will tell you if you're nearsighted or farsighted. That's the first number. So if that number is a negative number, you're nearsighted. If the first number is a positive number, if it has a plus in front of it, then you're farsighted. The second... Yeah.
Learning so much, Dr.
I
Ellis.
know.
Go on.
Now, if you have astigmatism, then the second number will be the amount of astigmatism that you have, right? It's measured in diopters, which is a metric measurement. We don't need to get into the technical part of that, but just to know that the bigger the number, the more nearsighted or farsighted you are, or more astigmatism. So LASIK will correct up to a +6 farsightedness, up to a -14 nearsightedness, and up to a -6 astigmatism. Now, that doesn't mean that every -14 is going to be a good candidate. There's the whole rest of the exam that we have to do to make sure that everything else looks good. So there's a range. We want it to be stable. We want it to be the right age. And then we look very carefully at the health of the eye, right? We look at the cornea. Dryness is a consideration. If the eyes are super dry, they may not be a good candidate for LASIK. We look for any other sign of anything that may be interfering with the quality of the vision that might make them a poor candidate. Cataract, problem in the retina. There is a condition called keratoconus, where the cornea can thin over time. It runs in families. It's more common in certain cultures. India, Southeast Asia, more common to have keratoconus. Those individuals usually don't respond well to LASIK, and we use a very sophisticated computerized analysis of the cornea to look at problems like that. So we can measure the front surface of the cornea, the back surface of the cornea. We look at the corneal thickness throughout the entirety of the cornea, just to look for any kind of irregularity, anything that would say there's some instability there that might not respond well to the procedure. Then we look at your overall health, right? Because there are certain medical conditions that might make you a poor candidate for the procedure. For example, if you have advanced diabetes, There can be changes in the back part of your eye. Certain types of arthritis are a consideration. They don't necessarily mean you're not a candidate, but we would want to know about that and make sure your exam looked good. So if the medical exam looks good, the eye exam, that corneal analysis looks good, your corneal thickness is important, right? So if you're a high correction, we know that when we do that sculpting of the cornea that we're going to be removing a little bit of the corneal tissue. So we don't want to make the cornea too thin, because at that point it could start to lose its structural integrity and it could start to lose its shape. That's a condition known as corneal ectasia. We've gotten so sophisticated nowadays at screening for that it is extremely rare, but it can occur, and that's one of the things we look for to make sure you're a good candidate.
It almost sounds like the consultation plus examination lasts longer than actually getting the LASIK surgery, right?
That's a good point.
Absolutely
Doesn't it sound that way?
I mean, yeah,
But
I
you keep saying
remember
5 minutes. I'm
my
like,
surgery was
Right.
so quick. I remember that, and I did not feel a thing. And can you talk a little bit?
Yeah,
about
what does
that?
the surgery actually
Yeah.
involve? LASIK surgery.
Well, I think the main thing to remember is don't sweat it, right? People get so worked up about it. It's your eyes,
Yeah.
the fear of the unknown.
That part.
Right.
Yeah.
For some people, watching a video can be helpful. There's a website called LASIK.com where you
Okay.
can get your questions answered. You can watch a quick video of the procedure. That may be helpful. And it can also connect you with a network of physicians like myself that are highly experienced and use the best technology. But when you're coming into the office, you will go through some paperwork. And then a lot of times nowadays, we do the procedure and the exam on the same day.
Oh.
So if you've had that telemedicine consult, then you know what to expect. We've already got it scheduled, and it saves you a trip to the office.
That's amazing.
So we'll complete the exam, and then you can get a light sedative if you want. We use numbing drops on the surface of the eye. And remember that it's an all laser technique, right? So we don't use anything sharp. Really, the only thing that does anything during the procedure is light. My role, of course, I have to have my experience to plan the procedure, but the actual technical part of doing the procedure, from my perspective, is one of the simplest procedures that we have in medicine. It's computer controlled, right? So there's 2 steps. So the first step, we make a very thin flap of the corneal tissue.
That's the part that scares me.
With
Yeah.
the laser.
With the laser, that's right. And it's computer controlled, right?
Exactly.
And so it's extremely safe, very reliable. Now, the reason we make that flap, when I first started doing laser vision correction back in the mid-90s, we didn't do it that way. We applied the laser directly to the surface of the eye. We would remove the epithelium and then reshape the front part of the eye. But when we do that, it has to heal. That epithelium has to grow back. And during that time, it can be a little more discomfort. The visual recovery is a little slower. So the modern technique of LASIK actually was a confluence of technologies that came together in a 2-step process. So we make that thin flap of corneal tissue so that we can do the reshaping underneath the flap.
I'm listening.
Yeah,
But I think that part probably scares people. Like
When you say the flap, like, because all I'm
right?
thinking about, it's my eye,
Right.
it's a laser,
Uh-huh.
and it flaps. Like, I'm just, you know.
I know it.
But
It definitely sounds scary.
It sounds scarier
Yeah.
than it actually is. You can continue explaining, but I know people who are listening are like, yeah, that's
Yeah.
the part that I'm like cringy about. Yeah.
Well, remember, it is minimally invasive. So the laser that's making the flap is calibrated to within 1 micron. Okay, a micron is 1,000th of a millimeter.
Whoa.
And there are 10 microns in a centimeter, right? So that's about the width of your pinky finger, right? So a human hair is roughly 30 microns in thickness. Well, the flap is about 90 to 100 microns. So it's extremely thin, right? Done by a computer-controlled laser, and it's still attached to the eye, so it's hinged. So we lift up that flap and fold it over that hinge, and we do the correction, the reshaping underneath the flap. Now, the laser that does the correction actually was first developed by IBM to etch microchips back in the 1980s. And it was chosen because it's a very low intensity. It's a very cool laser. It's ultraviolet. If you put your hand under it, you can barely feel it. But that part of the eye is very sensitive to that wavelength of light, and it can do a very cool reshaping of the eye, and then the flap is repositioned over that area that's been treated. And the reason that's done is because then all it has to really do is just seal around the edge of the flap, right? So that happens over a few hours, and that's why you get that very rapid visual recovery with LASIK,
few hours.
Well, what does it feel like for a patient to experience LASIK? Because you did say that there are some numbing drops involved, but does it itch? Am I going to be tearing up? Do you keep the patient's eyes like pried open with some kind of device so that they can't close their eye while this process is occurring, or blink?
Yeah.
Well, that's a great question because those are all fears that a lot of people express when they come into the center. When they're having the procedure done, there is an instrument that will help to keep the eye open, so you don't have to worry about that. You look at a fixation target, so it's just a blinking light that you look at. You will, for the first step of the process, you will feel a little pressure on the eye, and the vision will fade out for about 15 seconds. During that time, you don't have to do anything. We do remind people to breathe, right? Don't hold your breath. Yeah. After that, it's going to be blurry. Then you'll go to the second step where we'll lift the flap and do the correction. And you don't feel anything there, but you might smell a little smell from the actual gas of the laser that's doing the correction, just to let you know.
The smoke. I'm just,
Well,
If you're a nervous type person that tends to overthink, we do have a sedative available
that
in
would
the
be
office.
As soon as you said sedative, like, sign me up.
I'll take that.
Just to make it so that I'm not as anxious while the process is happening, because obviously I've already decided I'm doing this. So after that, what happens? After you've started the procedure and that part where we might smell a little bit of something.
Well, you know, another concern that people have is, what if I move my eye?
Yeah.
Is that going to mess things up?
Yeah.
Well, actually, we use an eye tracker that follows your eye movement, and it was developed by NASA.
Of course it was.
And yes, and originally it was used to investigate eye movement for astronauts in space because they were curious about, in zero gravity conditions, does our eye movement change? And it turns out it does, because the eye works with the inner ear, right? So you may not, we don't realize it, but when we turn our head or we move, the inner ear is helping to control the eye so that you don't get, you know, disoriented or out of balance.
That makes sense.
Well, in zero gravity, the inner ear doesn't function the same way. And so it does interfere with eye movement. And they were concerned about that.
Interesting.
For astronauts, well, that same technology was incorporated into the eye tracker that is involved with the laser that's doing the correction. So if you're looking at the fixation target and your eye moves a little bit, the tracker will follow your eye movement.
Wow, thanks, NASA.
So,
Yeah. That's amazing.
Yeah. Space age technology. Now, after the procedure, at first it's going to be a little foggy. right?
Okay.
Because there is some healing that has to take place. But you'll still notice pretty quickly. You probably did when you had your surgery.
Yes,
Right?
that I saw immediately.
Right.
It was amazing. And no pain at all.
I was going to ask that. So you're saying it might be a little foggy, but then it'll clear up. How long is that recovery process?
Well, the initial clearing is going to take about 6 hours, right?
Just hours?
About 6 hours. And then you'll really start to notice that the vision is clearing. You'll definitely notice it the following day.
Yeah.
So we advise our patients, if everything goes routinely, then you can expect to be able to drive the following day. You can go back to work. I had my surgery at 5 o'clock on a Thursday, and I did a full day of procedures the following day.
Wow.
Now, for women, I believe I remember I couldn't wear makeup for a week. Is that it? Is that right?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, because really we're worried. We don't want you to poke your eye, obviously.
Yeah.
Sure.
And then to remove eyeliner and mascara, you might have to press on the eye a little bit. So it's really just the eye makeup that we're worried about.
Okay.
Are there any other restrictions after having LASIK?
You would be surprised. There's not that many restrictions. People often ask, you know, what kind of physical activity can I do? Can I go back to working out?
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay.
You know, exertion, not the issue. The only thing we want you to be careful about is don't get anything in your eyes that's going to make you want to rub your eyes, right?
Like sweat.
Right. So maybe a sweatband, you know, something like that.
Okay.
Towel off. In
Towel
between.
off. Yeah, you don't want to splash water in your eyes just for the first few days after the procedure.
Oh, that's good to know.
You will come in for an exam within the first few days after the surgery. They'll look at your eyes. At that point, 90% of the healing has taken place. And then the more permanent phase of the healing can take a few weeks as the cornea and that flap kind of reattach and smooth over. So depending on your activity, if you wanted to go out and, you know, play baseball or something like that, you'd want to wear some sports goggles for the first month or so, just to be careful.
What about swimming? Oh, sorry.
No, that's a good
Swimming
question. I
underwater.
like that, swimming.
You can get in the pool, but don't get any water in your eyes for the first week.
Oh, just
Okay.
a week. Okay, great.
Okay. So at what point are you going to, punny here, see the final result?
Usually we say 3 to 4 weeks is
Okay,
when you'll see your
okay.
best.
But like I said, I really did see right away.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't, like you said, probably the best was later, but it was amazing that I could just see without contacts or glasses. Like mind blowing.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. The visual recovery is quick.
Is it final? Like once you've had LASIK, I mean, I know the technology has changed and I'm sure it will continue to evolve.
Right.
But is this like a every 10-year upkeep or maintenance kind of thing?
No, it's not actually.
Oh.
So that corneal tissue that's removed in the sculpting process cannot grow back. And that's really the whole basis for us even doing the procedure to start with. You know, if it grew back, then we wouldn't be able to do it because it wouldn't have any lasting effect. So yeah, we have patients that we've treated, like I mentioned, 25, 30 years ago that still have excellent quality vision. Your vision can still change over time, just like it happened, you know, in your husband. Right? If it does, it can be touched up if necessary. But our overall enhancement rate, which is how many people need an enhancement after the first procedure, is 4%.
That's it.
So you have a 4% likelihood at some point over the course of your lifetime of needing additional correction. So that's actually quite low.
Now that doesn't include, obviously, as you age, you need bifocals, your
Reading glasses.
farsightedness.
Yeah,
reading
cheaters.
glasses.
Uh-huh.
So that's not, from what I understand, LASIK does not fix that, correct?
Well, a couple things that we would say about that. What's happening there is the lens inside the eye starts to change. So LASIK doesn't alter the lens. But when we're younger, we can accommodate. So we can focus from distance to near quite readily. But as we get older, that lens starts to harden so that it can't change shape to focus from distance to near like it once did.
Okay.
And that's where we start to need reading glasses. Now, if your distance vision is clear, then you'll need cheaters. If you're nearsighted, then some people end up taking their glasses off to read. You've probably seen people do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that is something. If you've had LASIK in your 20s and you get into your 40s, you're going to need some cheaters, just like you would have anyway.
Right, at 100% of the population, right? Or something like that.
Exactly. Now, I myself, when I had my LASIK procedure, I had a technique known as monovision, where you have your dominant eye done for distance vision and your non-dominant eye done for up-close vision.
Oh, wow.
We all naturally prefer our dominant eye to see for distance, so it works quite well. We adapt to it readily. It's something that's been done with contacts
That's
for
amazing.
decades.
You're blowing my
that's
mind right now. I mean, I
Yeah.
know we had like a dominant hand, dominant foot or whatever, but I had no idea there was a dominant eye.
Yeah, this is mine. I'm just
Well, I'm
kidding,
sure.
I don't know.
Yeah,
You're so silly.
yeah, yeah.
Probably
So
in this one, though.
it has nothing to do with handedness. It's,
Oh, it
it's,
doesn't?
It's more 50-50. Yeah. But
Diagnosing myself.
yeah, but I had monovision, and really, it's been awesome for me. So I'm
That's so
57,
cool.
and
Okay.
I can still see up close.
And
Right.
will you ever need to do
touch-up?
a touch-up and bifocals at all? Or
Yeah, over time, the effect of monovision will start to diminish because we progressively need more and more magnification to see up close.
I see.
But we always have the benefit of being able to see better than if we had not had monovision.
Okay.
So it's really just a lifestyle choice. For example, if you're a tax attorney or someone like that, you might not want to have monovision. You might just want to use the cheaters. But if you do a position like, let's say you're a hairdresser or something like that, where you want to have that flexibility, that convenience of not
Quickly
owing
going
this,
back and forth, back and forth.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
then monovision's a good choice for you.
Are there any other surgeries besides LASIK that you can do to fix your
Vision,
vision? Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's a procedure known as an implantable contact lens or Collamer lens,
Okay.
ICL, and that actually goes inside the eye. It goes behind the iris in front of the lens, and it can be used to correct vision as well. Now, it's a little bit bigger deal. You know, it's an intraocular procedure, so there is the possibility of a complication associated with that, but it works quite well. There's a technique that has come on the market called SMILE. You may have heard of that, which uses a similar laser to what we use in LASIK, but it's actually not making the flap. It's making a pocket of tissue, and then that tissue is removed from the internal part of the cornea. And then there are techniques involving the lens inside the eye. So if you get to the age where you might need cataract surgery, then you can have the lens replaced and your health insurance will pay for it.
Oh.
And that can correct both for distance and near also.
Okay.
And some people will do that before they get to that point, you know,
Yeah,
but
yeah, yeah.
then they would have to pay for it out of pocket.
Speaking of paying for it out of pocket, how much does it cost to get LASIK done?
Well, LASIK, you know, everything else is getting so much more expensive, right? Cup of coffee, food, housing,
Yes.
cars, everything.
Living.
Everything.
Living.
Yeah.
It's unreal.
It really
right?
is.
Well, LASIK is not one of those things.
Oh, okay.
Actually, LASIK
Good
in
news.
inflation-adjusted dollars has actually gotten cheaper over time.
Why is that?
When I first started doing LASIK in the mid-90s, we charged about $2,500 per eye. So the total cost was about $5,000. It's still, our national average is $2,500 per eye. So it really has not changed that much. The technology has advanced. It's gotten a little cheaper for us to do it. You can finance it through CareCredit. You can use your health savings account or your flex account if you'd like to. We do participate, the doctors on LASIK.com all participate with major health insurance plans, so you can get a discount there. And so it may end up being a little bit less than that.
So you can use the CareCredit credit card?
Yes, it's a great way to afford it. And, you know, it over time is actually more cost effective than if you're wearing glasses or contacts. Because,
Oh,
you know,
definitely.
those are expensive.
Those are not cheap.
You're telling me. I buy a year's
Yeah.
supply at a time. They're proud of it, as my grandmother would say. They're very proud of it. But I mean, I need them to see, or at least I thought I did.
Exactly.
Until I met Dr. Ellis.
That is
I know.
so
What should someone look for when they are deciding on which practitioner they should go with for their
Right.
LASIK correction surgery?
Right. Well, you know, when you go in to get screened to see if you're a good candidate, it's your opportunity to screen them, right? So you want to ask some good questions, you know, find out more about the doctor, their credentials, how long they've been doing it, how many procedures have they done over that time frame, what technology do they use. Now, the wave-light laser system is considered to be the best technology on the market.
Wave
that
light.
down.
Yeah,
I'm
write that
writing
down.
right
Write
here
it
in my
down.
hand. Yeah.
Right, it gives us our best results. Do they do an all laser technique? There are actually still some practices that use a mechanical instrument to do the first step in the process, which we know has a greater risk of a complication. You can ask them questions about, do you follow your outcomes? What percentage of your patients are 20/20? What's your enhancement rate? And if I need an enhancement, is that going to be covered with my initial procedure fee?
Oh, great.
Yeah, so all the doctors on LASIK.com, we stand behind our work. So if you need an enhancement at any point during your lifetime, it's covered under that initial fee.
Oh, that's good to
Oh,
know.
I wish my husband would have known this.
Right.
I'm pretty sure he paid twice.
Right. Well, that's right. Not all practices do it that way, or they may have a time frame. They may say within the first year or something like that. So that's something to ask about. When you're talking with the team in the office, ask them how long they've been there, right? Because if everyone's new, that starts to kind of be a little bit of a red flag.
Yeah,
also.
definitely.
Yeah. And then, you know, use your resources. Talk to your friends and family. That's our single biggest resource of referrals.
Referrals, yeah.
Co-workers. You're going to know several people that have had it done. Where did they go? What was their experience like?
Okay.
And so that can give you some more information.
Okay, it's time for one of our favorite segments,
Ask
Dr.
the
Ellis.
expert.
the expert.
Yeah, so these questions
Yes.
are from our audience.
Okay,
Okay,
great.
They come in anonymously. You go ahead. Go
All
ahead. I see
right.
you're
Okay,
ready to go.
fantastic.
Our
Let's hear it.
first question is, are there any ways you recommend protecting my vision after getting LASIK to protect my investment?
Right.
Great question.
Well, the good news is you don't actually have to get super worried about that. There's very little that you can do to interfere with the results of the procedure.
Great.
But it's really more or less what we talked about initially after the surgery. There are some eye drops that you'll be using at first, an antibiotic just to make sure you don't get an infection. Your eyes are going to be more dry initially after the procedure for the first few weeks, maybe even the first month or two. So especially if you're on the computer a lot, you're staring at a screen, you don't blink very often, take some breaks, you know, stay hydrated, use those tears once in a while, that sort of thing. We also mentioned, you know, the sports goggles if you're doing particular activities where you do need to protect your eyes.
yeah.
And then, of course, it's always a good idea, and we do give you a free pair of really awesome sunglasses. You look like
Those
the
giant-
Terminator.
I love those, actually. Those are very fashionable, Dr.
They're
Ellis.
back.
Don't knock them. They're
They're
back.
coming back.
Yeah, but you know, it's a good habit to get into wearing sunglasses all
In
the
general.
time.
All the time.
Yeah.
Because
Protect
your eyes are sensitive to the ultraviolet portion of sunlight, just like your skin is.
Yeah.
But beyond that, you don't have to be super careful. You know, that's the great thing about it.
That's so awesome.
Okay, this person says, my son is in 8th grade. Should he wait to get LASIK at a specific age?
Yeah, so that's kind of what we mentioned. You know, you have to be at least 18 years of age.
Okay.
And then you want to make sure that the prescription has not changed from one year to the next significantly.
Right.
Now, the prescription can change a little bit just because of the subjective nature of that test. You know, if you went to the eye doctor 1 week to the next, it might change a little bit because you might respond a little differently to the, you know, which is better, 1-2, 1-2 test. But we don't want to see a significant change, which is considered to be a diopter over the course of a year. And kind of like we talked about, if there's a trend, if their eyes are changing every year, then they would want to wait until.
You know, I'm just going to do this just because I want to do it for fun. You ever have people come in and you're doing that? I don't know what the test is called, of course you will. And you have a certain voice that you use. Is it 1, or 2? Is it 2 or 3? Because I feel like my doctor's voice always changes when they do that. Do you do that, Dr. Ellis?
We absolutely do that.
That's so. You
Is
take
it
extra
1?
special vocal classes for that.
You do. Dr. Ellis, you're so awesome.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, of
Really great
course.
meeting you two.
It's so great to have you and
Yeah.
to answer these questions and feel so much better about the idea of not having to be stuck in contact lenses and glasses
Exactly.
for the rest of my life.
Yes.
Right. If you wear glasses or contacts, or if you think you might need them, you really owe it to yourself to at least be evaluated for LASIK, because usually the evaluation is free, and just find out what your options are. And I hope you choose it, because for me personally, it has been one of the single best things I've ever done for myself.
Life-changing.
It
Yeah,
is
it
amazing
really
in
is.
ways that you could never expect. I remember I was on a helicopter ride over a volcano in Hawaii right after my surgery, and I was looking at this amazing view, and I thought to myself, this is incredible.
This is
Yeah.
life. This is living.
This is life.
I can't even
freedom.
imagine. Yeah.
It's freedom.
My
Right?
life before.
Lava.
I forgot
Lava
about it.
is freedom.
Yeah. Love is.
Will you come back? Will you come back again and join us?
I
Because
would
you're
love
just
to
so
come back.
awesome
Yeah.
to have.
Yeah.
You're great at
Yeah.
answering all of our questions.
Happy to. Thanks for having me.
Thanks, Dr. Ellis. Thank you so much for joining us and being part of our growing community.
Stay tuned for new Care Expert episodes every Wednesday. And don't forget to subscribe on your favorite podcast app and YouTube.